Hi, this is James Zane with Full Capital, and I'm here with Rowan Burch. Rowan, thanks for jumping on. Maybe to kick it off, give us a little bit of your background and a little bit about your firm, and then we'll jump into this new deal.
Yeah, James, thanks for having me on again. Second time on the What's the Deal. My name is Rowan Burch. I'm a managing director with RMA, Rowan Multifamily Advisors. Our firm has been around for about 9 years, started back in 2012. So we've kind of seen the cycle play out. Personally, I've been in the industry since 2013, so right at about 8 years. It's been a great time for the market and for Dallas multifamily. Our group specializes in B and C class multifamily. Last year, we did about 30 deals. Average deal size was right at about 18 million. We came into the year really strong. We've got about 15 escrows and a lot of stuff coming to market. So we're excited about another good year, and I'm excited about talking about West Village here today.
All right, let's jump into this deal. West Village, maybe give people an overview of sort of where it sits and sort of the demand drivers there.
Yeah. So West Village is in what I'd call central Arlington. It's right off Pioneer, kind of sits between Pioneer and Arkansas. So you've got really easy access to all the major drivers in Arlington. If you go, north, you're going to run right into UTA. If you go north and a little bit east, you've got the Texas Live, you've got AT&T Stadium, Globe Life Field, which are all just driving a lot of new development up in that area. And then if you go to the east, you've got the GM assembly plant. So that GM plant is where they assemble all of the SUVs for the Southeast region. It's been around for 60 years. It's not going anywhere. It's a good long-term, stable employment driver. And I mean, you can pretty much get anywhere in Arlington or anywhere in the Metroplex pretty easily. I mean, you go north and you're on 30, you go south, I-20. And then if you go over east, you're on 360. So I really like the location. It's central, high demand, a lot of employment around.
And then maybe talk about some of the local. So we pulled in a satellite image here, and I thought
Yeah.
it's so Pioneer is obviously just north of the property. That's like what, a 3 lane each direction. Um,
Yeah.
it's not a
Yeah.
freeway,
It's a big,
but it seems fast when you're on it.
it is. It's a big street. I mean, I'd consider that kind of the main east-west thoroughfare, between I-20 and I-30. So a lot of people use it to drive, east and west if they don't want to get on the highways. So you got a lot of traffic driving by. It allows pretty easy access to the property. The property has really frontage on Pioneer on the north side, and then on the south side is Arkansas. So there's the entrance is on Pioneer on the north side, exits on Arkansas. I mean, you got a lot of traffic driving by. One of the things that we've actually talked about that you could do here is there's no signage on the south side of the property. So you're not getting any real attention from the people that are driving on Arkansas. You could add something there to try to pull in some additional traffic. Right here
So you're
on
saying
the
like right
south
here,
side of the
right?
property.
Okay,
Exactly.
all right. So
So
like
yeah, you
right
could add
here.
something here on the side of the buildings or something. You could get creative with it. But I think that would definitely help with some exposure and some traffic.
Okay, good. All right. So talk about sort of how the outside of the property, maybe I mean, the outside of the property looks great. I mean, talk about whether the seller has spent money on interiors, exterior,
Yeah.
maybe some of the amenities.
Yeah, definitely. So the current owner has spent about 700,000 in capex on the property. That's both interior and exterior. Um, you know, the property is unique because it's all it's all first floor entries. So there's no staircases, no landings you need to worry about, no balconies or anything like that. All the two-story kind of second story windows you see here in these pictures, kind of over to the left, are all going to be the townhome units. So there's 32 townhome style units. They're all 3-bed, 2-bath, really well laid out. You got 2 bedrooms downstairs, 1 bedroom upstairs. So really unique layout, really unique property type for this area of Arlington. And in terms of what the current owners spent on the property, they spent a lot of money on, just drive-by appeal. They spent a lot of money. They did exterior paint on the property. They did parking lot resurface and striping. They did landscaping. There was some mild drainage problems, which they spent a lot of money fixing with the new French drain system. They added a playground and dog park. There's kind of a green belt over to the west of the property. And they added those two amenities there, which before there was nothing there, so it was kind of just a dead space. But now they've got a couple of amenities over there that kids and families use for play and recreation, and dogs obviously as well.
Talk about sort of the structure of the property, sort of how the is it individual HVAC, individual water
Yeah,
heaters, or is it boiler? What's the
yeah.
mechanical?
It's all individual systems. So they've got individual hot water heaters in each unit. They've got individual AC units, obviously pitched roof. And then they've got washer dryer hookups in about a little bit over 50% of the units. It's in all the 3 bedrooms and in select 2-bedroom units. So it's about 35 units have the washer dryer full size connections. Currently, they don't offer like any sort of a rental program for the washer dryer units themselves. That's an area where we think there's some value. Buying the machines or renting the machines and charging the tenants a monthly fee for those is definitely somewhere we see some value you could add.
All right, so here's the unit mix. Majority, 60%, 65% are 2s and 3s here.
Yes.
At the property.
Heavy on 2s and 3s.
Okay, so does that help on the sort of tenant demographic, or what's the makeup of most of the tenants here?
Yeah. So you got a lot of families. We were doing a tour out there the other day. The school bus actually comes into the property, and there was, probably 8 to 10 kids that got off. So I think it's very family oriented. With that, you get a little bit more of a longer term tenant, not so much of a tenant that moves around every single year. You're going to have a longer lease terms in typical cases. So I like that about it. There's kids running around playing on the playground. It's a safe community. Majority are going to be that family profile.
All right. So here we stripped out sort of, all right, this is what the property on the subject property is on the left, and then on the right hand is a rent comp that you thought was pretty comparable. So maybe talk through this slide in terms of what you think the rents could be at this property.
Yeah. So what we did here, and I'll take a step back for a second. West Village has upgraded 44 of the units. So 44 of the 66 have been upgraded to a level that you see here on the left-hand picture. And what we did was we pulled a comp that's just down the street on Pioneer. It's called the Palace. Recently sold and is being upgraded currently. It's a pretty similar finish out. And what we saw was that there's a big disparity in the rents for, similar product. So they've got the same amenity sets. Maybe Palace has a little bit higher amenity level just because they have a bigger size property, but very comparable interiors. And we're still at about $180 discount to the Palace in terms of what they're commanding for their premium upgrades. So we see this as not only going in, finishing out the other 22 units with an upgrade package, but also pushing the already upgraded rents up to what is now the new market levels for this submarket.
And then do you know approximately how much they spent on upgrading interiors, or how much someone will need to spend, let's say, on the remaining sort of classic units?
Yeah, so they spent, it's a little bit of a wide range because the previous owner had done some kind of mild renovations to different units, but around 6,000 is kind of what they spent on their interior upgrade package. I'd say 6,000 to 7,000 per unit. So I would definitely budget in, that 6 to 7 grand for the remaining 22 units on property. Some are going to be less, some are going to be a little bit more than that.
Okay, and then we have, all right, so we got the rental premium, 188 per unit. That's going to add about $3 million in value at a 5% cap. And then what about some of these other income items that you're thinking about?
Yeah, so I alluded to the washer dryers a little earlier, but I think, for this type of family demographic, it'd be good to add the washer and dryers inside of the units and just have a monthly fee charge back to the tenants. So we added all 35 of the units that have washer dryer connections. We assume the new buyer is going to come in, buy those units themselves, and lease them out for an additional $45 premium per month to 35 of the tenants. So that's one other income item. And then the final one was additional reserve parking. So they've been doing really well with their reserve parking program. They've got 17 parking spaces leased right now at $35 a month. So a pretty good premium for just, painting reserved on a spot, really not spending any money. And the current owner just kind of stopped that program about 6 months ago. They just thought the parking lot was getting a little bit congested, but I definitely think that's something you could continue. I mean, the parking ratio is almost 2 to 1. So, it's not like you're running out of spots if you lease additional spaces. So I definitely think that's something that we would continue doing. A new owner should continue doing. And we assume that a new buyer is going to come in and lease another, 16 spaces. So double the footprint of the reserve parking.
Do you know on those washer dryers, is it full size washer dryers or stackable?
Yes.
Full size. Okay.
Full size.
All right. So here's sort of where the income is sitting right now. Sort of on the let's take it total rental income, sort of in that 829 to 800,000 on the T12, the T1. And so you're thinking rental income is gonna, if you implement these sort of bumps by year 2, rental income would be about 975 to million here.
Yeah, exactly, James. I think, just doing the things that we talked about in the last slide, pushing those rents up to market rate, upgrading the remaining units, and then doing the washer dryer and the parking, you can bump that income pretty substantially over the first 2 years of ownership. So yeah, I definitely think these numbers are achievable. And yeah.
And then on the expense side, so it's 66 units. How do you recommend sort of new buyers come in on the management side? And what's the seller doing on it right now?
Yeah, good question. So I'll take a step back, a little bit of a longer story here. So the current owner self-managed for the first couple of years of owning the property. Just about 3 months ago, they switched over to a third-party management group. I definitely think this can sustain like one on-site manager and one on-site maintenance. 66 units is kind of on the fringe, but since these are bigger units, they're going to command a higher rent number. So I think, from a financials perspective, I definitely think this can support a full-time office manager and a full-time exterior lead maintenance. And they do have a standalone leasing office. They do have a sizable maintenance shop. So they have all the tools that you need to have staff on site.
All right, perfect. So here's sort of a 5-year pro forma. Anything additional on this piece?
Yeah, I mean, I'd just say, even with our rent growth projections, we're trying to push rents as much as we think the market will withhold. But we've got basically a 6.25% effective rent growth year 1 and about a 6% effective rent growth year 2. Arlington's projected to have double-digit rent growth the next 3 quarters per CoStar. So I definitely think these numbers are extremely achievable, if not conservative. And I mean, that's the only thing of note really here. I think this is going to be a deal with a lot of upside, even though there's only 30% of the units left to upgrade. I think just the rents, there's just a lot of juice there.
And are they billing back for all the utilities?
Yes, they are currently billing back for all the utilities, electrics in the tenant's name, and then they're billing back the others.
Okay, great. All right. So what's the whisper on this deal?
We're whispering about 10.75 right now, which is about mid 160s a door, mid 160s a square foot, since you have the 1,000+ square foot units here.
Okay, gotcha. So we looked at it a couple different ways. I mean, Fannie and Freddie, we're going to be probably 5.6, 5.7, maybe 5.8 on Freddie Mac SBL. So they're going to look at the in-place income. So they're going to look at what the property is currently getting. They're not going to give you any credit for any of the rent bumps that you're going to get going forward. So, if you have a larger, let's say 1031, or someone who's willing to write sort of a larger equity check, you could definitely take it Fannie or Freddie Mac SBL. Old Capital did the existing loan for the current seller on the property. So, if you wanted to do something a little bit higher leverage, based on where the rents are going to be, you could do a bridge loan. We're seeing people go 75, 80% of the purchase price, 100% of the rehab on these bridge loans. And so right now, since this is under 10 million, you're probably going to be in that 375 to 4% over LIBOR or SOFR. And, most of those are going to be 3+1+1 with majority of them being interest only the whole time, and then having a 1% prepay. So that's how it would be on the debt. And I guess we'll wrap up here. Any final comments on the deal, and then have you set up a call for offers date?
Yeah. Call for offers is going to be February 8th. So next Tuesday. I think this is a good deal for somebody who is going to be looking to buy their first asset. I mean, this is also a location play. I mean, a lot of people own stuff in Arlington. So if you own something nearby and want to grow your scale in this market, I think this is also a good opportunity. And if you have any questions, just give me a shout. Oak Capital's familiar with the deal. They financed it for the previous owner. And so it'd be a good resource for you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ron.
Yeah. Thanks, James.